So basically, week 8 examined what visuals do, and how they construct meaning. But more than anything to me, it illustrated how images are being manipulated within this era to a significant extent more than ever. Especially because digital era means publishing is quite prominent and anyone is able to publish. It distorts our view, it's able to manipulate our perceptions and whatnot of simple visualizations online, just pictures and whatnot. Now, if you look at my visual on the blog that I posted, it's a famous picture of the falling man, a famous photography which led to massive controversy within the world. It was taken by an Associated Press photographer named Richard Drew. People presume that this man jumped off the North Tower of the World Trade Center as it was burning to pieces during the terrorist attack in America in September 11, 2001. The picture depicts a realistic depiction of what happened to the man. I guess obviously the way that I perceive the image and you perceive the image will be different. However, I believe that it will be the quite common perception of terror, fear, and whatnot. And yeah, this picture was actually in so much controversy because so many people claimed that it was such a harsh reality, and it was just too real that people couldn't really take it and process it, and the media was just constantly using this image, constantly manipulating this image again and again, in newspaper articles, online, etc., and just kind of using this image to kind of show the the terror and the impact, the craziness of all this terrorism within America. And I think that's also a fine example of how a digital era can really use visualizations, and especially the way that we perceive and view these things is also kind of all like mangled together. Yeah, so the most interesting thing was, as I was searching for this image on Google, I found out there was so many different types of the falling man. So basically people went and kind of photoshopped it. People went and kind of did their own thing with it. There's one that was specifically kind of cropped out where you can just see the man just kind of falling, and the one that I picked, which shows a much more detailed version of what's actually happening, etc. I guess like visual technologies and whatnot within the digital era has overcomplicated the way we view things as well. It fragments a lot of what's actually happening and whatnot, thereby kind of diminishing real-time happenings and things like that. However, I guess I can't wholly say that it's completely getting rid of real-time, because there's aspects of real-time, but there's also aspects that's been fragmented, like Andrew Murphy said in the lecture. So as Murphy talked in the lecture, visuals are twice as hard to code because it's a motivated sign. We therefore as individuals hold twice the power to change and manipulate it according to the way we want the visual to be understood. After realizing this, it hit me how much memories, habits, etc. were a part of comprehending, viewing, and visualizing images, and even real-time happenings. These things all matter, I guess, as a human, because we will have different perceptions, different experiences, which enrich our own personal experience and viewing of a particular visualization, etc. So, for example, when I saw the website Infosthetics, where they posted a picture of a healthy food up and then like junk food on the side, and they put it directly next to each other, and then they wrote the words 200 calories, and the way that they put it was kind of blatantly obvious the way that what they're trying to do. Basically, you don't think about these things, but then I think like especially because this is in relations to how we view things and etc., and how we can kind of take the real time things and pick it, at the same time understand and know how much the visualization is being kind of manipulated and shaped and whatnot. And the fact that we can do this because it's simply a motivated sign. It's not necessarily stated or defined by actual words, but we can comprehend it the way that we want to, if that makes sense. And because I tend to be not really much of a junk food eater as I used to be, I guess the way that I perceive this image would be different to that of a person that doesn't really care about health and fitness, etc. But more so, I think the main thing is the way that the visual is kind of represented, how Photoshop and technology can kind of manipulate all these images, therefore kind of diminishing the truth. Also, Anna Friedberg's new book, the virtual window further looks to examine not just how the world is framed via digital technologies, but rather what is contained within the frame, which matters a lot. Through this, we gain deeper knowledge of how the quote entangled forces have attributed to us thinking and perceiving these visuals and aspects of visualizations, for example, VJing, in a certain manner. In other words, the content of what is framed matters a lot. For example, the falling man, that was a huge thing where it really matters what's within the context, and I guess how you overly kind of show it and how you kind of frame it and etc. like that, it does matter. But I guess that is simply just like an icing on top of a cake, because the cake is the contents, what's within it, and what's the real reason why they kind of chose to use that kind of image or visualization or whatever they're trying to do. It kind of shows their intention as well, and how they're trying to get this kind of item to be viewed in the way that one wants to online. And also, I guess we also play a part, because it's the way that we kind of perceive these things and etc. The way that we digest meanings, therefore, within visuals is much within our power and control to do so, but more so, as I said before, machines technology is complicated. Photoshop, cropping out, etc., etc. But I guess ultimately the crux of this all comes down to the art of publishing. The reason why we're all prone to these new visuals and information and how is because of how new media has enabled new platforms of publishing to be faster, easier, efficient, and much more effective. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be a writer. You can just be you. Log onto the internet, go publish something which would ultimately circulate around the internet. People might choose to get that, gain something from it, or it might just end up being nothing. Regardless of the fact, it will be online. Someone will see it, and they can choose to interpret it, and they can use it as their interpretation and bring it out to somebody else by manipulating it, showing someone else, etc. They can create a new meaning of that. So yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that without publishing, all of this wouldn't be so prominent. And I think the most important thing to realize is that in visualizations, I don't think it's wholly manipulated or fragmented, but it's really to realize that there are depictions of real time within it. But it's, I guess, how technology and how we kind of comprehend and process the meaning overall. Yeah, so I guess ultimately images are so much more different than words, because, to some extent they bring reality, but to a certain extent they don't, and we have to produce our own meanings and whatnot. So yeah.